looking actually for show participants. We are looking for business owners, marketing leaders, sales leaders, HR professionals, people, maybe even if you're searching for a job, that's okay too.
Welcome to the Howie and Beastmode podcast, where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode in conversation.
What's on my heart tonight is something that you're good at.
Oh, okay.
This shouldn't require a lot of prep, but I've told you, I don't know if I've broadcast this, but I told you that one of my goals this year is to improve on listening. And I would love to just hear what your strategies are.
Yes.
And I can tell you what my concerns are for me.
Yeah.
So, maybe start off with concerns and then we do, one concern, one strategy. I don't care. We're making this up on the fly a little bit tonight, but do you mind talking about active listening?
No, I'm actually, and I'm so glad you asked me this because so unplanned, but it's something I wanted to talk about anyways, is because last week I've really got on my heart to listen more and actively. This isn't faith-based podcast so much, but I'm actively on a 21-day fast of taking away any form of auditory noise, even visual noise that would allow me to listen better.
You're joking.
To everyone around me,
right?
But most importantly, to my Heavenly Father.
Wow.
And so, which is a real struggle. It is probably one of the hardest fasts I've done.
Wow.
Because I love to learn, and so I'm always seeking avenues of audiobooks or podcasts or visual things of documentaries or something, because I just love learning. I want to listen, but I'm just taking this break. And so what it's doing is it's forcing me, it's reducing all the outside noise, yes, but it's also reducing the inside noise in my head of where my mind is going a million miles an hour and it wants to think about, for the first probably 3 or 4 days, it was hard to even listen to people around me. I'm being serious because I was used to having that noise, and I was used to, because my mind could be active whenever I had earbuds in, right? And I had praise and worship going, or I had a podcast going or something. My mind could be active and almost combating with that noise, but yet I'm still focused because I'm actively listening to what's in my ears. And so my mind could kind of do whatever. But the moment I took that out and I didn't have that noise against my mind, then my mind was really loud. And so this past week, I've just been calming my mind, getting everything out that is unnecessary. And it is work, man, to where I can really just sit and I can, in the middle of a conversation, there's nothing else going. There's no business. There's no nonprofit. There's no cleanup. I'm very present, more present than normal. And it's exciting, but it is very, very difficult right now.
Wow. Okay.
So,
well, that's, some people would say that's serendipity, that we're doing a podcast based on something that you're literally doing a media fast.
Yes.
And, in our neck of the woods, we call that a God thing. Call it what you want. But that's amazing. That's crazy timing and pretty cool for sure. Wow.
But it's clear. It's clear, and I'm listening for certain things, right? So it's on one spectrum, I'm listening for your voice, and that is my number one. Now, number two is I want to make sure there's voices around me that I'm missing because of my mind has been cluttered or my heart has been cluttered. And it's not just our ears, and so I want to clear that out to where I can have a conversation one-on-one with a human being sitting in front of me and not have any of that other stuff there. Because I think there's just an important conversation that's going to be had, and I want to make sure that it's clear. And I think that relates to business. A lot of times we can get we want feedback, and it's just coming in waves from all different areas. And sometimes not that we need to stop feedback, but maybe we need to stop certain avenues so we can get certain direction. Okay, I'm going to take all feedback from here because there's a clear goal, there's a clear avenue we're going, and this is where I'm only listening here right now. Keep it coming, but I'm blocking because I'm only looking here, and then be able to come back in. That makes sense? If there's a key goal or an objective, and I'm too spread out in my feedback, then oftentimes I can get deterred from the key element that needs to come in, that needs to pierce, my heart or my gut or whatever you want to call it for a moment, but it can get missed in the noise. And so one way to do that is to remove some of the noise.
That's awesome. How do you, how many days are you on this?
8.
Okay. That's a long time.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I'm even doing, and this is even probably even more so, but I'm even doing partial, so I'm not adding my own noise, right? So it's almost silence and solitude in the sense that I'm taking away all outside noise. So anything podcast, I don't watch a whole lot of television, but any of that stuff, that is not man-made. Your voice to my voice, gone. But then I'm also reducing my voice so that I'm not adding in, because I'm trying to reduce my mind. I'm trying to reduce my heart and trying to hear exactly what needs to be heard. And so I don't want to add mine to it over and over again. Yeah. So there's a lot of quiet time.
What was the reason that you started thinking about doing this?
It started with the hurrying. I felt hurried. I felt like I was, which it was okay because I like to get a lot of things done and I like to maximize my time. But I think what I was doing is in maximizing my time is there was moments that I was missing.
Okay.
Is kind of what my gut was telling me. And it doesn't mean like I was oblivious, because I'm very attentive to what's around me. I just felt like I was stirred that there's something you need to hear, whether it's business and I'm not really sure what it is. There's something that you need to hear, and you're not going to hear it running from podcast to podcast, listening to listening. Like you need to pause, you need to change it up. And Mark Batterson, he's a pastor, but he's also a big business guy. He talks about oftentimes whenever you need to shake things up, whenever you feel kind of stagnant or you're just wanting something, like you just know, hey, I need to change. He says what you need to do is you need to do a change of pace and a change of place. And oftentimes those two things paired together will result in an epiphany, basically. So if you're used to running and going, okay, slow the pace down. Doesn't mean you can't get stuff done. It just means don't intentionally put things in there just to go from step to step to step. Slow your pace. And then if you're used to, if you're able to, like you did, and take a 2 or 3 day break with your wife, that change of place, getting out of where you normally are. Now, if you're not able to do that, like generally I'm not, then the change of place can be an intentional time. I'm intentionally going to do this task that I normally do here. I'm going to do it over here. And so it can be, instead of having my quiet time inside, I'm going to have it outside. Instead, instead of going to the gym in the morning, I'm going to go in the evening. Just change your places. And oftentimes it results in epiphanies. And again, for faith-based believers, he talks about it being clarity or receiving a word. So that's what I'm doing.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm slowing down, like massively.
So slowing down. So it all started with slowing down.
Yes.
And then it grew into also listening more, which doesn't surprise me because it's already an area that you've decided in your life to be good at, which is listening. And so it doesn't surprise me that you have tasted that to a certain extent and have decided to double down on that.
Well, what I found, because I didn't officially start until Monday of last week. So I started Saturday and Sunday leading up to Monday of last week. And what I found is when I slowed drastically down, what I found is that my mind was everywhere. Right. And so then it was like, okay, well then I'm going to calm my mind down by putting something in my ears and that's where it was like, no, I need to let my mind calm down too, because otherwise my mind is just going to keep going at the same pace that I was going. My body's going slower, but my mind, the thing that I need for clarity, I need for direction, I need for that improvement, for creativity. I mean, seriously. You have to slow it down. I had to get on the same page. And the only way to do that for me was I had to seek silence in certain areas. I mean, and these are elective silences. I mean, for me. So obviously if I have calls or things like this that are on my schedule, those don't count, you know?
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. And so you're finding that it's been what? How's it been so far?
It's been amazing, and realizing how busy my mind was.
Yeah.
And how I understand why I haven't felt very creative and I haven't felt very focused. Doesn't mean I haven't been accomplishing, because I have. Doesn't mean I haven't been doing good work, because I have. I didn't realize how overwhelmed my mind was. And so that was a huge eye-opening awakening that I'm so blessed to have realized. And so I need to be able to put boundaries on it, you know? And so I'm hoping that through these next, 13 days, I can figure out some boundaries of healthy learning capabilities, but also healthy silence and solitude and listening time. But then also is understanding, I love active listening. I love paying attention, but there's obviously a lot of room for improvement. And I'm just curious of what that can be, what that can look like. And so, there's just some other areas just to see what the capacity increase, that's available. I mean, so it's pretty cool. Now, I haven't had the epiphany or the creative flow that I was hoping for at the moment. But I think it's coming because my mind is a lot calmer. I'm getting better rest. So,
wow, good.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. And so I'm enjoying that aspect. And so I think it's going to come in a wave. And it may be a new groove. That's normally how things work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
a new what?
A new groove.
New groove. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, from listening is so important in business. I mean, I think the areas that I feel like I don't do a good enough job, and I think part of it is what you said. You started off on this journey for this 21-day time of improved listening. I've recently realized that I don't slow down. And so it's interesting that you said that slowing down and listening have a relationship.
Oh, totally. I don't think you can slow down. Actually, let me say it the other way. I don't think you can listen without slowing down.
Yeah.
I think you can slow down without listening. I just think that if you did slow down without a purpose, without like a listening purpose, most of us would get so antsy or fidgety because there wouldn't be that thing to put your mind in focus. Or oftentimes you would just fill that gap with something else. You would slow down physically, but you would just put it someplace else. And I don't think you'd reap the benefits without them going together.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I'm so of the mindset, and that's what kind of baffles me, is I'm so of the mindset of I would have my moments matter more. So my goal is one phone call, one sale, one phone. Like, that's obviously to be so clear and concise on who my target is, and have that rapport already built up because of branding, because of messaging that we've done on the front end, that it's literally one call, one person, right? I don't want to do 100 of this, that, and the other. And so it just kind of baffles me that I've been like that in other areas of my life, where I haven't been very clean and concise in my time. I've been kind of busy in my time. And so it's just kind of awakening. I like that awakening,
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Well, some of it does, some of it doesn't, because some of it's your journey.
Yeah.
And I'm not there on all these issues. I think just right now where I'm at is kind of learning to slow down is like the biggest thing for me. I even saw a book on Amazon that was interesting, which had a title about slowing down, and I was like, wow, that really speaks to me. So yeah, I think for me it's a big issue. It's a big area I want to work on, is slowing down and also deeper listening. And I think also for me, proactive listening, not just whatever they say, but what they didn't say.
Yeah.
Being able to ask, kind of like asking the next question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I did that a little bit tonight with you, asking what was the reason and how's it going. Like I did a little bit of that, but I mean, that's not a lot. I think if we could live our lives closer to a traditional reporter, where they are very good at asking questions, I think that'd be good. I think asking questions is a really important part of business. And if I'm focused on asking you questions, then I can sort of like almost naturally practice my listening.
Yeah. Well, you can't ask a good question unless you're listening. You have to be listening on the front end to see which direction the conversation is going. And then you have to maintain to kind of keep guiding towards an outcome of it doesn't matter whether it's a personal revelation for the person who you're talking to, or whether it's you're trying to guide them to why your product or your service is such a great idea, but you can't do that unless you're actively listening. You can't just have 10 questions lined up and run them through, so.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I think, on this podcast, we talk a lot about feedback, which is obviously you have to be pretty tuned in and listening for that. So it's not shocking that we kind of covered this a little bit, but this is definitely more of the personal dynamic, and it certainly has business impact and career impacts, but it has bigger impacts than that as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I want to listen better, and I want to ask better questions, but I want to do it not just for practicality, but also out of care for the other person. I want to do it because it works, but also because I just care.
I think for me, how the personal journey relates to business is I want to hear one clear and concise voice in my quiet time, and whether it's creativity or wisdom or insights, whatever that is, I want to hear one clear and concise voice so I can operate it. On the other end, in business, I want to take the noise that is a lot of feedback, but I want to hear one clear and concise message from this feedback. I want to be able to open the faucet up, take it in, and be able to come out with one outcome. Here's where we're going, or this is what I've got.
The message is that seed. The seed doesn't change. The seed is still the seed. The message is still the message, but the people are different, right? So you have to think of people as the type of soil here, and